Rahman and get a sense of what has been going on so far today as this trial has recommenced. Anish, the headlines, if you will.
Yeah, Michael, essentially we're in hour 6 of today's trial session. We broke for lunch for about 2 hours or so. In the morning, we saw the first witness testify. We're now seeing the second. The morning witness was not anonymously testifying behind the blue curtain as we see now. Instead, he testified right in front of the 7 defendants and Saddam Hussein. Now, the main point that we've seen in terms of color within the courtroom is in terms of Saddam's demeanor, he's been incredibly subdued today, comparative to his previous visits to this courtroom, where he has brazenly and defiantly questioned the legitimacy of the proceedings and the control of the court at the hands of the judge. Today he has been essentially quiet, speaking only twice, once to interrupt the witness this morning, saying that Saddam wanted to observe noon prayers. The judge said that the testimony would instead go forward, and so while the testimony was taking place, Saddam sort of shifted in his chair and began praying on his own. We then saw him at the end of the morning session, right before we broke for lunch, stand up and speak to the court, essentially calling into question the role of the prosecutor and the fact that Saddam says these witnesses are allowed to testify at will without strong cross-examination. The witness that we heard this morning is a man that I spoke to weeks ago in Due jail. He detailed to the court, as he detailed to me, the torture that was endured after years spent in prison, 7 of his brothers executed, 43 members of his family detained after that failed assassination attempt in 1982. Now, in that interview with me, he spoke of how his brother was involved in that failed assassination attempt. The defense lawyers this morning seizing upon that, really, and trying to almost explicitly paint the witness as part of the plot to kill Saddam Hussein. The witness held his ground, and again, he didn't speak anonymously. He was out in front of Saddam Hussein. So some dramatic moments from the witness testimony, a subdued Saddam, and the other important note is a very active Barzan Hassan al-Takriti, Saddam Hussein's half-brother, who at one point began yelling at the witness, calling him names, who said the soul of Taha Yassin Ramadan Shu, the former Iraqi vice president, is worth more than the life of the witness and his tribe. Michael?
Anish, now heard from 10 or so witnesses, emotional testimonies, as you said. What is the case looking like? Is it building? Has there been much of the evidence directly linking Saddam and his co-defendants?
There has not. This morning's witness was some of the strongest link that we've seen to at least Barzan Hassan al-Takriti, Saddam Hussein's half-brother. He placed him not only in Due jail, but in the actual interrogation room while he was being tortured, as well as the torture of his sister. But what we have to keep in mind are the multiple sort of segments of this trial. These are complaint witnesses here to just sort of provide victim testimonies, if you will. The next set of witnesses will provide relevant information about the case. Then we will see documentary evidence. Then they will formally put together a charging document, and then you have the prosecution and the defense witnesses, and then the defense counsel and the defendants addressing the trial. So for the prosecution, they're not at the stage where they're sort of compelled to place forward direct evidence. These witnesses merely here for emotional effect in terms of what happened in the aftermath of that alleged incident.
Indeed.
Michael?
And Anish, the judge, as you said, Saddam Hussein, much more demure. What about the control of the court, of the case, by the judge? Last time when Saddam was a little more unruly, the judge was criticised for not taking control. Have we seen any change in how he has altered his own tactics?
Well, it seems that the court is moving at a quicker pace. We're certainly getting through these witnesses, although not at a fast pace. The defendants, especially Saddam Hussein, not as vocal in court, although we did hear from Barzan Hassan al-Takriti. So the proceedings, it seems, affected more by the fact that Saddam has been subdued, as well as the other defendants, more so than a judge that's been in control, because at times the testimony has been unwieldy. But, Michael, I just have to go now to go back into the courtroom. All
right, Anish Rahman, we'll let you go. Thanks so much, our own Anish Rahman, covering this trial from inside the courtroom. We're going to return now to our coverage of the testimony. Let's listen in.
My friend and I out. I said, release us. I was employed and I had no income, and I had family to support, so I don't know what happened to my family. I don't know what happened to my children. So we didn't know anything about our families. What income can I get? They said they said no, we'll restore your employment. and I came back to my employment. And my 4 children disappeared. After that, when the regime fell down, four were executed, and I was supposed to be executed also. But by God's grace, I was saved. So explain. What do you mean you were executed? Explain to us. And the lists that came showing who was executed after the fall of Baghdad, my name was amongst those who were supposed to have been executed. Who is he complaining against? I'm filing a complaint against Saddam, against Barzan, against Bandar, and Taha Yassin Ramadan, and Abu Nabil, who was there in the jail, the security officer, and Mash'an Dahan. They are at the head of the chain of those who are responsible. That's my complaint. Two of my nephews were killed, and my 4 killed. Why are you complaining against Taha Yassin Ramadan? He was with them. In the plowing the farms. Do you have questions? Yes. Do you have questions? Yes. I was executed. And also, when we looked at the judgment by the Revolutionary Court, his name appeared amongst the 148 victims. And his name also appeared the presidential decree that certifies the execution order of the 148. So the question is, can you describe to us what happened during your trial, the trial of the 148, and you were listed amongst them in the court? Did you stand before a trial? I didn't see a court. I wasn't in a trial. The second question: did you have any farm or a house, and what was the fate of your house or farm? What? Yes, I had a farm, and I had 2 houses at that time. One house I found to be there, and there's another house that I used to rent out. I saw that the security have kicked out the tenants and they demolished the house. Thank you. Can you allow me to see the defense, the complaint witness? Yes.